This is Bob Capetta from the University of Illinois at Chicago, and this lesson is on elasticity of demand. If price and demand are related by the equation x is a function of p, then the elasticity of demand is given by the following equation. E of p, the elasticity as a function of the price, equals negative p times f prime of p divided by f of p. Now, what exactly does the elasticity of demand mean? As the price changes, the elasticity changes. And the question is, if we have a small increase in price, how will that affect our overall revenues? Does a small increase in price increase our overall revenues, or does a small increase in price decrease our overall revenues because of the change in demand? That, in essence, is the question that we're asking. Well, here's our interpretation. If we get an elasticity that's less than 1, then a price increase will increase revenue. So we should consider a small price increase. If the elasticity at that price level is greater than 1, then a price increase will actually decrease overall revenues because of the decrease in demand. If E of P is 1, if we get unit elasticity, which is very unlikely for real-world situations, then a small price change will decrease demand in an equal way so that overall revenues are unchanged. So that's in essence what we mean by unit elasticity. But again, for realistic problems, that's not typically going to happen. So here's our question. We are given the price-demand equation x plus 500p equals 10,000. We want to find the elasticity of demand for prices of $4 a unit or $12 a unit and interpret what that means. Should we consider a small increase in price? Now, our formula had f of p, so I need demand as a function of p. Currently, I have x plus 500p equals 10,000. If I'm going to get demand as a function of p, I'm just going to solve for x. So we get x is 10,000 minus 500p, and now we have our demand as a function of price. I'm going to call that f of p. So f of p is 10,000 minus 500p. The derivative of f prime of p, is just equal to negative 500. So now we have f of p, we have f prime of p, we have everything that we need to go ahead and get our elasticity of demand for prices of $4 a unit and $12 a unit. So here's what we are given, and there's our formula for the elasticity as a function of price. So E of p will be negative p times f prime of p times negative 500 divided by f of p divided by 10,000 minus 500p. Negative p times negative 500 is, of course, 500p. So we get E of p is 500p divided by 10,000 minus 500p. And we want to plug that in for certain values, starting with 4. So what is the elasticity at a price level of $4 a unit? 500 times 4 divided by 10,000 minus 500 times 4. 500 times 4 is 2,000, so 10,000 minus 2,000 is 8,000. 2,000 over 8,000 is a quarter, or 0.25. So that is an elasticity of less than 1. So how do we interpret that? A small price increase will increase revenue. So we should consider raising the price from $4 maybe to $5 to see whether or not we will, to see that we're going to have increasing revenue. So again, a small increase in price will increase our overall revenues. Our next question is for E of 12. What is the elasticity at a price point of 12? 500 times 12 divided by 10,000 minus 500 times 12. So that's 6,000 over 4,000, which is now greater than 1. It's what, 1.5? So if that's the case, a small increase in price, or frankly any increase in price, will decrease in revenue. So our overall revenue will decrease if we increase price. Let's look at another example. Given the price-demand equation, x is f of p is 950 minus 2p minus 0.1p squared. We want to find the elasticity of demand for prices of $35 a unit and $75 a unit. Well, we have f of p, so we need to find f prime of p, which will be negative 2 minus 0.2p. And with f prime of p and f of p, we can get the elasticity of demand. So there's our function and derivative, and our formula is E of p is negative p times f prime of p divided by f of p. So there is the formula. Again, notice negative p is there, f prime of p, negative 2 minus 0.2p, and f of p downstairs, 950 minus 2p minus 0.1p squared. So distributing this negative p, negative 2 times negative p is positive 2p. Negative p times negative 0.2p would be 0.2p squared. And I want to go ahead and plug in numbers to see what our values are. So E of 35 is 2 times 35 plus 0.2 times 35 squared, divided by 950 minus 2 times 35 minus 0.1 times 35 squared. Sorry about that tech glitch. We get E of 35 is 0.42. So again, that is less than 1. If we get an elasticity of less than 1, we know that a small price increase will increase revenue. Now again, here's our formula for E of P that we did on the previous line. And if we plug in 75, we get 5.37. So what does that tell us? Well, that is much greater than 1, so a small increase in price will decrease revenue, and in fact, any increase in price will decrease overall revenues. And that will conclude this lesson.